What's up guys, Vital Syntax here, and we're going to be discussing the game modes that were available in Battlefield 3 and how they could be tweaked and balanced for Battlefield 4 to give us a better next generation Battlefield title. So I'm going to go over each different game mode that we had available in Battlefield 3. I'm not going to go over all of them because there are lots of similarities between different ones, like Conquest or Conquest Large or Conquest Assault. And just keep in mind that these are all my opinions, and I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I don't even expect the majority of people to agree with me, so feel free to leave your opinions on any of the topics I bring up in the comments. So the first game mode that I want to touch on is Conquest, and there's a lot of Conquest servers on the PC platform that have 1,000 or higher ticket counts and that have instant vehicle respawns. Now this completely changes the game when you have instant vehicle respawns. It completely changes the dynamic of vehicle warfare. And for me personally, I don't like those servers, and it kind of sucks that almost everyone that has people playing in it is a instant vehicle respawn. So I think that for the most part, people enjoy instant vehicle respawns, or else people wouldn't be playing in servers like that. But it kind of stinks for players like myself, and I know I'm not the only one that want to play in normal vehicle respawn or time to vehicle respawn servers, and those aren't really available. So maybe DICE can give, EA or DICE hosted servers that have kind of the default ticket counts, the default vehicle respawns, and default settings that were designed by DICE to be played on. That way people that don't necessarily want to play on 1,000 ticket servers with instant vehicle respawns kind of have that option. Another issue with Conquest has to do with the flags, and if you're capturing a flag, and this is more for infantry based maps, say for example Operation Metro or Scene Crossing or Grand Bazaar, when you're capturing a point, enemy players can spawn on that point if they were the team that was controlling that point. Kind of the one flag that stands out to me the most is on Scene Crossing. There's one that's kind of in this middle of this square block of the city, and there's like grass all the way around the edge, and people can spawn in that grass while you're capturing the flag, and they're like 10 feet away from you and kill you, and that's really frustrating. So maybe have some type of way that you can't spawn on a flag point if you're within a certain range, or maybe they would just have better spawn points. Maybe you don't spawn directly on the flag, maybe you spawn 50 to 100 feet away from the flag, so you can still kind of defend the flag as it's being taken. Because I think the idea of the second you step on a flag nobody can respawn on it is kind of stupid, because then they can't kind of reinforce it. Well, they can, but they're gonna have to spawn at a different location and run to that flag to reinforce it. But it is really frustrating, especially on that Scene Crossing spawn point. I think it's like a garden or something, where you're capturing the flag and you got like three or four people spawning around you in the bushes, and that can be kind of frustrating. Another big issue with a lot of the game modes in Battlefield 3, but specifically for Conquest, is spawn trapping. And there's a lot of different solutions that I thought of that I've also read about, people suggesting that could fix spawn trapping. And here's just 4 ideas that might be able to fix the issue. First one is flipping the spawn points. If you push all the way up to their spawn point, they take control of your spawn point. Now the issue with this is, in Battlefield 3, it's kind of designed for a side-by-side battle, and if you switch sides, and it kind of ruins the whole dynamic of the map. And maybe even some of the maps are designed so that you spawn on an aircraft carrier, and then if you're spawning on the land and the other team's spawning on the aircraft carrier, that's just kind of weird. So I don't know if that would necessarily work for all the game modes and all the different maps. Another possible fix for spawn trapping is that you couldn't revive once you control all the flags. That way you can't just keep pushing into their spawn point with assault characters or medic players continuing to spawn trap them. Another one is maybe having a ticket count engaged once you control the flag. So this would almost turn Conquest into Rush. Once you control all the flags and you are effectively spawn trapping the other team in their spawn point, you would get 50 tickets. And once those 50 tickets from your team are depleted, you can't spawn anymore. And the team that was being spawn trapped can push out of their spawn point and grab one of the flags, and then you can respawn at either your spawn or one of the other 2 flags, or however many flags are on the map that you control. Another one is just completely removing spawning or respawning once all the flags are captured. So this would effectively make it so once you have all 4 flags or 5 flags or 3 flags, whatever many flags are on the map, and you're spawn trapping the enemy team, once you do that, if you get killed, if you have all the flags, you won't be able to respawn until your entire team is probably dead and they're capturing a flag. Once they capture one of the flags on the map, then you can respawn. So those are just some possible solutions. I'm not necessarily leaning towards one or the other, but let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any other ideas. So for Rush, one of the big issues with the custom servers is servers that have ridiculously high attack ticket counts, because obviously when you're playing as the defenders, you have unlimited respawns, but with the attacker team, you have tickets, and once you run out of tickets, the game's over. But if you give the attacking team like 1,000 tickets or 500 tickets, then it's so unfair, because they just have this massive advantage over the defending team, which is designed, or the attacking team, which was normally designed to have, maybe 50, 100 tickets. Another issue, and this isn't necessarily an issue, but I think it's something that could be kind of simplified, is the way Rush works is you'll attack for one game and then you'll defend for one game. Typically you'll do it on the same map and you'll switch sides. But what if they had that switching process take place in the middle of the game? So there's actually like 2 rounds to every game of Rush. Halfway through the match, you would switch to the defensive team if you're playing as the attackers for the first round, or if you're playing as the defensive team for the first round, you switch to the defenders team for the first round. That way you kind of get an opportunity to play attack and defense in one game, because if you join, let's say, one rush server, and then you leave and you never got to a chance to attack, well, you actually have to play 2 different games, or 2 full games of Rush to have the ability to attack and defend, whereas if they had it switched kind of in between, then you get the opportunity to do both. I don't know, that's just kind of something I think they could make it simplified. It's not really that big of a deal. It's not really to do with balancing either. On to Team Deathmatch. I think that this has more to do with the class balancing, but in Team Deathmatch, the real only class that is worthwhile is the Assault class. I mean, sure, you can use the Sniper class for the recon weapons, or you can use the support classes for the ammo and C4 and stuff like that, but for the most part, being able to heal yourself and revive teammates and have access to the best guns in Battlefield 3 with the assault rifles is just the obvious choice for a class for Team Deathmatch. So if they can balance out some of the kits, which is something that I've talked quite a bit about in some of my previous Battlefield 4 kit balancing videos, then I think Team Deathmatch would be a lot more enjoyable. Another issue is that getting on top of buildings, like for example on the crane, on canals, or getting on some of the rooftops in some of the Aftermath game modes, that's not really that big of an issue in some of the other game modes, because there's objectives, and if you're up on top of a building, then you're not helping your team's probably going to lose. But in Team Deathmatch, there's no objective other than to get as many kills with as least deaths as you possibly can. And when you have rooftops like that give players a huge advantage height-wise, that's really frustrating for players that, are the ones on the ground getting shot by snipers that are up on top of roofs and stuff. So maybe just for Team Deathmatch or for non-objective game modes, make those building tops out of bounds or something like that, so players can't just, control the rooftop and kind of camp up there. Next game mode is Squad Deathmatch. This is a very broken game mode in a lot of situations, because squads aren't really limited. So you can have like a squad of 10 versus a squad of 4 versus another squad of 2 versus another squad of 1, and that has to do with balancing and team balancing and auto balancing and stuff like that. So they need to implement some type of system to balance out the squads. I mean, Squad Deathmatch was originally designed for 4 squads of 4 people, but it's almost turned into a multi-team deathmatch where you have more than 4 people on a squad. And I'm okay with that. I think multi-team deathmatch is kind of a cool idea. Have, 8 versus 8 versus 8 versus 8. But there definitely needs to be some type of balancing so that the squads can't just be, really, really packed on one side and, just almost empty on another team. There's been a few new game modes added through DLC, like Scavenger, Gun Game, Capture the Flag. And although I think Scavenger and Gun Game were kind of fun, and I'd like to see some of those more, I don't know, just kind of fun, lighthearted game modes that aren't really competitive or maybe even very team-based. I mean, Gun Game isn't very team-based. It's more about just the best player on each team is going to win. I think Capture the Flag was the one game mode that I really enjoyed and really hung on to that was a DLC game mode. And I really like to see Capture the Flag available out of the box in the vanilla version of Battlefield 4. Now, one of the problems with Capture the Flag is that the player limit isn't capped to 32. And on PC, if you ever play Capture the Flag with 48 or 64-man servers, it's insane. It doesn't work at all. That's at least my opinion. I'm sure some people will disagree with me on that, but I think they should limit the player count in Capture the Flag to 32 or 24, something along those lines, so that it's actually playable. Now, the last thing, although this isn't really a specific game mode, has to do with competitive play. They need to add more support for esports, because Battlefield 3 is one of the biggest first-person shooters currently on the market, and they need to add more support for esports, because there's a lot of people that want to play esports, and there's a lot of people that do play esports, but there's not a lot of features and support there from DICE and EA that actually make the esports experience enjoyable. So they need to add things like a spectator, a free cam. This is also great for people that are doing, you know, YouTube videos, cinematic videos. That way they can record from different angles. And there's already been like hacks that people have designed to effectively get a working spectator and free cam that were developed by people in the community, which just shows you how much they want this feature, including myself, that they went out of their way to make it themselves. So adding that feature out of the box would be awesome. Improving on the matchmaking system. So they did implement some kind of a match system in Battlefield 3 with the battle log system, but nobody really uses it. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody actually using it for competitive. I could be wrong though, but they would be really cool if they implemented some kind of a matchmaking system, a leaderboard system, maybe add tournaments and prizes for different competitive teams. And the biggest thing I think for competitive play is actually having good weapon balance, and maybe learning from the competitive players on how they should balance weapons. Because if you look at any competitive team or any competitive, you know, gameplay of, you know, two teams going up against each other, whether it's an infantry-based team or it's a Conquest, like a vehicle-based team, they're always using the exact same guns. Everybody has to use the M16 or the M4. I guess there's some exceptions in some cases, but it shows you that those are like the most overpowered guns, and Battlefield and DICE should take a hint from that and say, okay, well, if the competitive players are all using this one gun because it's the best gun in the game, they need to balance that. And hopefully that's something they've already worked on for Battlefield 4, is definitely toning in the weapon balance based off of, you know, feedback and use time and kill death ratio and score per minute that people have with certain weapons. So anyway, that wraps up my wish list, I guess, for Battlefield 4 is game modes and tweaks from Battlefield 3. I'd also love to see new game modes, new innovation, and new game types that are going to be available. But this is mostly just touching on ones that already exist in the Battlefield franchise and ones that could be fixed and tweaked for the future Battlefield titles. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give me a like or a favorite. Remember to subscribe for more Battlefield 4 related videos, and we'll see you guys in the next one.